the 1095C, do you have to have the HR module?
You do not have it if you're directly adding the year-end wage file, but you have to have the year-end wage update for them to show up in this edit W-2. So if you're not going to go in and set it up at the HR level to track, you will have access to the 1095C and the dependent window even though you don't have HR installed, as long as you installed the year-end tax update. But you will have to go in there clearly and you will have to mark everything in here. So no, that question would be if you're just going to go directly in here and edit it, you don't have to have the HR module installed. So let's talk about where the information resides. We already know where this is, but in order to get this going and get this set up, we have to have a few things set up. And one of the things is we have to go under our health insurance. We have to have HR installed. Then we have to run a utility that'll bring over all of your existing deductions and benefits from the payroll side. So this is only for people that don't already have HR loaded, that you have to run that utility. But once that's done, then everybody would have to go into the actual health insurance, and you have a couple of windows here that have to be filled out. So any of your health insurance ones, you can now see down here you have a whole section that says Affordable Care Act info. What you have to fill out is you have to fill out this information, and if you don't know what you need to fill out on here, your best bet is to talk to your insurance company if you don't. Now, I don't believe you'd have to know whether you need the safe harbor codes or the original one, but we can't offer you that without knowing everyone's health insurance. So your best choice is to reach out to your health insurance provider and say, all right, what do I need to fill in for these codes? Some of them are fairly explanatory. So then the other thing is what has to show up on the W-2 is what is the lowest cost premium. And what that means is, this happens to be single coverage, but let's say this was family. You have to fill in is what is the lowest cost. So what is the cost of a premium if an employee was only insuring themselves? So for the most part, for all your insurance plans that are similar, this would be the same dollar amount, because it's for, if I only insure myself, what is my cost for the employee? So once you fill this out at this level, you can save it, and this information will roll down to the employee's health insurance enrollment. But you have to do some preliminary HR stuff, so you might want to need the assistance to get this going of our support team. Doesn't mean you got to set up full-blown HR. It just means you've got some minimum stuff you need to set up, and this information is also included in some of that checklist information. And like I said, some of this stuff came about after we've had our guide out, so we have chose to get it to you via a website where we can keep it current and up to date. The other information is if you're providing self-insured, if it's self-insured coverage that your employer is providing, then you need to provide the government with some benefit information. And that is also in the HR module. That's under cards. It's under human resources, it's under employee, and it's here independence. And there is a whole section that is covered for your dependents. And it is information right here, the dependent Social Security, gender, date of birth, health insurance coverage. Now, once those are set up, and that information on the health insurance screen has to be set up and will not start tracking until it's set up the very next payroll. So if we put it in now, it's not going to go back and grab the numbers from the payrolls that have already taken place. It will start generating it and creating it for reporting when it gets set up. So that means the majority of you probably still have to manually fill in your numbers for your W-2s. So that's where it takes us to the Edit W-2 screen window in payroll. And that's where we've got to go in, and I'm going to bring up, so what you have to fill in, and like I said, you only need to fill this dependence in for that self-insured requirement, but the 1095C, you need to fill in, this is the coverage, and then this is that employee share. So remember, that's based on employing the self, the individual. You would need to fill this in for each month that they were covered. And then I believe this is the safe harbor. So if you don't have to report safe harbor, like I said, I can't make that determination for you. Your health insurance provider should. So you're either filling in this section or you're filling in this section. Once you have, and you're going to have to do that for each employee in order to have that properly on the W-2. Once you have this set up and you start running payrolls, then next year this stuff will be all populated for you. Now, in order to print them, they're part of the same print process. And what you've got is you've got the 1095C, which goes to the employee, and then the 1094C transmittal, which gets submitted to the government. So the 1094C, once we have this all loaded, now I'm not going to end up with any because I don't have any information filled out, but these are fully printed. So these are in the format that they need to be. So you can see that you don't have to have special forms for these. These will print out on the paper with the full form. And the information, basically you can see we're missing, whoops, I want to click on that. We're missing the information down in Part 2. And then Part 3 is only for if the employer provided self-insured coverage. But the Part 2 is what you need to fill out in all of those boxes. So then once that's done, you will have a 1094 transmittal, and it will also print that, and that's basically the summary of everything that goes to the government. All right, so there's some great information on our website, as well as there are obviously other links out there on what is required in order to report your ACA. Basically, I just showed you what you have to do at GP in order to track it and get it on the W-2. But your best resource in determining if you're required to file and what you're required to file is to talk with your health insurance insurer.